Welcome back to Three Girls a Day for some more dates. I think this one's a really, really interesting scenario. One of the great things about game is that you get into all these adventures, right? You get into all these situations where things may not go according to plan, but it's fun. It's a great story. This was really one of those situations. I actually broke a couple of my rules in this case to bring you guys an interesting date, and also because I had a friend of mine that I was going to bring along and do a double date with him, so he could have a girl as well. So it's kind of an interesting scenario, and actually this one started out interesting from the very beginning. A lot of the text conversations I've shown you so far were very straightforward, where the girl showed a lot of interest right away, and then I was just kind of able to go into the closing sequence. That will happen a lot of the time, so I want you to see it. That's kind of like the bread and butter example. But every now and again, you will get a lot of shit tests. You'll have to turn things around. You'll have to work through it. And this was a case where I actually got a lot of negative response up front. I got a lot of hurdles, obstacles that I had to get through. So I'm going to really break that down for you as well. Okay, so I started off with a message that I do sometimes rather flippantly, which is, hi, I feel you appear attractive, and consequently I'd like to explore the possibility of enhancing your life by means of exposure to my awesomeness. Okay, thanks, bye. So it's a very flippant, cocky message. It just kind of it says, states your intentions pretty clearly. I think you're cute. I'd like to get to know you. But it says, I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty cocky. I'm going to enhance your life, not I'm putting you on a pedestal. So it has a lot of merit to it as a message. But what I got back was the following. I think you're a little too awesome for me. Now this is interesting because it could mean one of two things. It could mean either that she's very shy, and she's actually thinks that I am too awesome and feels like I'm overqualified for her, which is a possibility. I mean, I do have a very nice profile. But also a lot of times what it means is it's a girl's way of kind of giving you a shit test. A lot of times maybe if you're talking to a girl live and you say, what's cool about you? She'll be like, I don't know, nothing, right? And sometimes she really thinks that, but most of the time she's just being difficult. Most of the time she's just trying not to give you much. She's using her lack of commitment or her being negative about herself as sort of a shit test to make you contribute more, to make you answer it. So I feel like that's kind of what she was doing here. But you kind of have to go both ways with it, and you never want to treat a shit test as highly negative, because one of the ways you pass a shit test is misinterpret, right? Treat it like it's a positive, treat it like it's a compliment. So here what I'm going to do is some combination of lifting her up if she is low self-esteem, but also giving her a misinterpretation of some kind of confidence just in case she's not. Which is dicey again because she's calling out my confidence, but it's really the only option I have. So that's what I go with. So what I wrote was, funny, you actually don't seem so bad, though the excessive modesty is a concern. Perhaps we should focus on having fun rather than getting into an awesomeness competition. And then a little emoticon. Right, so here I'm calling out the fact that it's not about trying to one-up each other. It's not about being so cool. I'm kind of trying to take the ego out of it because my profile is pretty egocentric, and just say, hey, let's just have fun and let's see where things go, and let's just normalize this conversation, right? Obviously, the fact that she wrote me back in the first place means she's intrigued, means she likes me. So I can assume that much. And I'm going to go from there. But that said, she still needs to, kind of be brought around. She still needs to be reassured that I'm a normal person, not the cocky, bombastic asshole in my profile, and all those kind of things. So that's what I wrote to kind of smooth it out. I'm giving her the compliments, but not too much of it. And then I'm saying, this whole ego thing, this whole comparison thing, let's not compare, let's just have fun. So I'm trying to reframe it as a mutually positive experience as opposed to a competition, because you don't want to end up in this kind of frame where you're butting heads with the girl. Okay, so her response to that was, no, seriously, I don't know if your profile is joking, but if you're being totally serious, it's a turnoff. Okay, now this is a more clear shit test. However, again, remember the fundamental premise, which is if she's responding, she's at least a little bit interested. Okay, so here's what she's doing in my mind at this point. She's saying, I like you emotionally. I'm emotionally responding to you, and I want to write back to you, and I think you're hot. But logically, when I look at your profile, my logical mind says you are an asshole. So what I need you to do is justify to me that you're not an asshole without being without losing the fun and wittiness and the things that I like about your profile. Don't be a total pussy either. But justify to me reasonably that I want to meet up with you, I want to get to know you, but give me an excuse to do so, because right now I can't logically do it. That's what I'm reading from this message. So what I responded was, haha, it's a bit tongue-in-cheek and definitely geared to elicit a response. But then again, every joke contains a kernel of truth, right? So I'm saying, yeah, I'm just kidding. It's not totally serious. I'm not as big an asshole as all that, etc. But then I don't say oh, no, that wasn't me. I would never do that. I'm so apologetic. I stick by my guns a little bit. But every joke does contain a kernel of truth. So yeah, I'm not that big of an asshole. But that said, like, it did come from me. I'm not lying in my profile. It's not like some bullshit I came up with. It's not some gimmicky thing, right? So I'm giving her enough that she can justify logically that she can meet up with me without feeling like weird about it or feeling like she's like a bad person or getting used or that I'm a total player, a total asshole, something like that. But at the same time, I am sticking to my guns enough that I'm not being weak. So I'm kind of playing that middle ground while passing the shit test. And again, treating it like it's all just fun and games, like haha, yeah, da 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 da, right? Adding in a lot of ha-has and LOLs sometimes in your text, as much as like it doesn't seem very masculine, I suppose, and it seems kind of like ditzy. It can be very useful because it's very hard to convey emotion in textual conversation. But by doing those kind of things, you actually can convey that it's not a big deal, and that can be a very important thing to say. So I do that relatively regularly. All right, so let's see what she said in response to that. Yeah, I guess it's better for a guy to be confident than not. Your ridiculous profile can be forgiven. What brings you to this site, Your Highness? Okay, so now we're in good shape, right? Again, she wanted to be able to look past the negative aspects of the profile, but she's emotionally aroused. Remember this. Attraction is not a choice, and people do not make decisions logically, they make them emotionally, but they need enough logical justification so that they can rationalize them. So that's what I've given her now. Now she's like, da-da-da, tell me about yourself, Your Highness, right? So she's still being a little cocky, she's still like, calling me out on being a little arrogant, but she is now asking me questions, right? So now she's asking me to open up, she's asking me positive things, etc. So now I can answer the questions, I can be conversational and normal with her, but I can also start to gauge whether I can move it forward, so I can start to test where I'm at. In this case, I actually didn't respond for a while because I got busy and was doing other things, so it actually took me a while to get back to her, so that factors into this message as well. Haha, sorry for the belated reply. Apparently I'm not here all that often, but I suppose the same as everyone else. I'm looking for someone and something amazing, and I'll leave no stone unturned in the process. You? Right, so here it's actually quite genuine. I could have potentially, like in reading this over, by the way, whenever I read these through, I always read them through in order, so that I'm making the decisions based on only the messages, not on the results. So in this case, I thought that I would have moved it forward slightly or tried to move it forward, and I don't think that's a bad idea. But what I actually did here was I was like, well, she sent a lot of shit tests so far, so I'm just going to just do positivity and offer value for one message and normalize the conversation a little bit and make sure that it's a clear positive or a clear non-shit testy answer before I move it forward, which I also don't think is bad either. So that's what I did in this case. And so I just did something relatively genuine. Also, the fact that it was days and days afterwards, I don't think helped either. So I think I felt I needed to sort of like rekindle a little bit and remind her that I exist. Her response to this was silence, which could be because it was not the best text, or quite possibly it could be because of the delay. It could be she was online a lot over a period of time, and then I took several days to get back to her, and she was no longer in the habit of being online. Maybe she had not been looking at her profile, etc. So these things can happen. So I waited a few days, and then I sent a message to bring it back around, and what I sent was, Dear Diary, cute girl vanished, should I send search party? This is one of the messages you've seen in the basic 3 Girls a Day course, that for turning around silences, that kind of stuff. It's just a gentle reminder, I exist, I deserve a response, I'm entitled, but in a funny way that's not butthurt. Okay, so here's what she wrote. She wrote, sorry, I was abducted by aliens. They were kind enough to return me, though. I hadn't seen your last message. What brings me to this site? I guess the same. And it's fun to flirt with strangers online. Okay, so that's a cheeky answer, positive, etc. And now it's very normal, very positive. And she even called out, she's like, oh, sorry, I didn't see your previous message. So I was right in my assessment that it's quite possible she hadn't been looking at her profile. The message itself that wasn't bad. Sometimes if you send a message and then you don't get a response, you can look at it and figure out why the message was bad. And then you're like, oh shit, that's why. But in this case, I looked at the message and I didn't think anything was wrong with it. So I assumed it was some outside factor, right? Either she hasn't been checking her profile or she's started hooking up with someone else or something like that, but not something to do with the messaging directly. So that's, again, why I sent that type of a follow-up message. So now we're on really good terms. She's even apologizing for not having read my other message. We've gone from very like feisty and catty and like shit testy to very friendly. So now it's definitely time to consider moving things forward. So what I wrote was, I can relate to that. What is your view on flirting with particularly promising strangers in person? i.e. not online, right? So I'm broaching the subject of meeting up, actually doing something, of this going somewhere other than just being an online relationship. I usually like to, you may have noticed in my other examples, get to the number very quickly. In this case, I didn't have that many opportunities to escalate, and so I'm just getting there, but I definitely don't want to become her pen pal, especially when she says something like, it's fun to flirt with strangers online. I don't want to become the fun little online flirtation. I want to get her out in person. So that's what I'm cutting for. I'm basically like figuring out how, well, first of all, I'm moving it forward, but secondly, I'm figuring out how full of shit this girl is. Okay, so her response was, okay. So she says, well, if you flirt in person, they aren't really strangers anymore, question mark. Right, so I think she's just being kind of cheeky, giving me just a little shit test on it. But in a sense, it's positive too. She's saying like, you know, if we did that, we wouldn't be strangers. So she's in my mind, giving me a cheeky shit test, being a little bit difficult, as girls will do, especially online. But at the same time, she is opening up the possibility. She's not saying I wouldn't do that. She's just like giving me one more test sort of to get through on the way to that. So my response, the way I passed this test and just handled the like sort of like slight level of bullshit she's giving me is, LOL cute. In that case, I'd like to go out on a limb and suggest that we might explore the possibility of ceasing to be strangers. Right? So again, no bullshit, just cut through it, etc. And say like, just point out the positivity of her message, the positive side of that message, which is good things could happen, right? And at this point, like I've gone back and forth so many messages. If she is the type of girl, like certain types of girls just will not meet you offline. It'll happen. Maybe they have never been online before and they're very nervous about it, or maybe they are the type that like extremely conservative. They've never dated someone they haven't known for years before, and they just feel nervous about going on a date with a stranger, and they got online thinking it was a good idea, but they're not actually going to follow through. It'll happen sometimes. So if you get that vibe, you want to sort of cut to the chase with them, call them out a little bit. And if it turns out you just don't get that girl out, well, there's thousands and thousands of others online. So at this point, the girl clearly likes me. There's no doubt about that. We've had good banter. We've had good dialogue. The issue is definitely not a me and her issue. The issue may be a her issue. It may be that she just has some kind of issue. And if that's the case, I want to either find it out and overcome it, or I want to find it out and move on. I don't want to just keep bantering around and going nowhere with it. So I'm kind of being direct and to the point, but still keeping it fun, keeping it flirty, keeping it positive, never being confrontational, never being butthurt. Okay, so her response here was, LOL, so when are you free? This is starting to get good. This is what we want. So I said, I'll be back in Vegas Monday and there for most of the week, and my number is, what's yours, Todd? Very similar type of close to others ones you've seen, except in this case, she's actually suggested the plan, so I'm able to be a little more assumptive even yet. Her response here is, I won't be in town this week. I'll be back next week after the weekend, and gives me her number. Okay, so from here, we will now go to text. All right, so I said we're going straight to text. It turns out what happened in this case is that I had not followed up with her for a little bit, and then I followed up with her just to see what was going on, and she mentioned that she was in LA, and it turns out that I was in LA at the time. So even though we're both from Vegas, it turns out we're both in LA. So from the texting, we'll pick it up from that. Okay, so in this case, I texted, hey, her name, it's Todd. Look forward to talking to you soon. Please save this number so you can be appropriately excited for my call. That's a good first text. I send something like that very, very often. Just the big thing here is you just want to make sure that they get your number in her phone, right? Like some other people say, hey, it's so-and-so for the weird guy from the internet, or the amazing guy from the internet, the cocky guy from whatever. Or if you're meeting a girl in like a bar or a club, a lot of times, hey, it's Todd from this place, or Todd the whatever description from this place. Just something to get your number in her phone and make sure it gets saved. Make sure that when you call her or text her or whatever, that that things can move forward without it having to be this like weird who is this awkward shit. Okay? So anyway, here's what she writes. So we're at the Grove in Hollywood, but we're staying in Marina Del Rey. We're trying to leave pretty early tomorrow. Not sure if you'd want to do something tonight, but it's an option. That's obviously very, very, very positive. So we're just going to try and go ahead and make plans. I say, yeah, I'm in Hollywood as well. You and your sister, if she wants, should come grab a drink. Yeah, it turned out in the earlier messaging that, she's with her sister as well. So in this case, I figure it's not likely to get her out by herself. If she's traveling with her sister, getting her to ditch her sister and come out with me is not very likely. But it turns out that I had other friends with me who are cool guys, are pretty good with girls. So I decided to make a double date. And also this girl, was pretty cute. So I felt like it was worth it in general. Also, I just had nothing to do that night. So, why not? So being very positive again, she goes, where are you thinking? Now I have to think on my feet a little bit. I have to make plans, etc. I probably could have made it easy on myself as far as getting a meetup by suggesting something near where she was. But I didn't want that. I wanted logistics in my favor. Good principle I always teach in the 3 Girls a Day program is you want dates on your terms, dates that can lead to sex. So I tried to get her to come right to my area. It turns out the Roosevelt Hotel was like about a block and a half from where I was staying. So that's where I wanted to get her to come. And it's not that far from the Grove. So that's where I was trying to get her to come. So here's what I did here. Roosevelt Hotel is always classy and fun, ... right? To this, she now did not respond. She gave me silence in response, which I felt was very inappropriate because she'd been very positive, trying to make plans, and then all of a sudden went silent. And this will happen a lot with girls for a number of reasons. Maybe they are bored and then they get caught up doing something and don't even look at the text, or they get caught up doing something and now all of a sudden they're not so keen to hang out because whatever they're doing isn't super boring now. That can happen. The other thing that can happen is sometimes you'll suggest plans that are a little inconvenient for them. A lot of times girls are on this threshold where they'll meet up with you if it's very convenient, but as soon as there's inconvenience to it, or as soon as they have to try harder, as soon as they because number one, inconvenience isn't good for anyone, but for a girl in particular, if she inconvenienced herself to meet you as a guy, she can have a tendency to feel a little bit slutty about it or a little weird about it. So you want to avoid that. You want to take that burden off their shoulders. So in this case, it was probably one of those two things. Either she didn't want to make that extra drive, or something happened with her and her sister where all of a sudden they were actually doing something. So for whatever reason, she didn't respond. So my follow-up here was, haha, not a fan of the Roosevelt, eh? And she gets back to me about a half hour later. Haha, no, I like the Roosevelt, but we just got back to the condo and it's a little far, just trying to figure things out. So here we had like a brief 2-minute phone conversation, which I've since lost. Unfortunately, I had a phone incident. But in that conversation, we basically just figured out that she was in more towards the beach area of Los Angeles, and so that's where she needed to go out, and she really didn't want to be drinking and driving all the way back, that kind of stuff. So if we were going to meet up with her, probably it was going to have to be out there. Again, this breaks my rule of date on your own terms. But in this particular case, they were, 2 girls traveling together, kind of in an adventurous mood. They'd actually made an attempt to hang out with me, and I had wingmen with me. So this was all positive. And again, I had nothing else planned for that night. So I was like, okay, fuck it, let's do this. We'll go film a date and go have some fun. So why not? If I was in my home city, if I had other things to do, I probably wouldn't have taken that kind of date. But as is, given the circumstance, I thought it was a decent risk. So we went with it. All right, so we had that conversation. I suggested possibly places they might go, and then I said I'd look into it and get back to them. So then I said, FYI, Viceroy is a good bet for tonight. That's a hotel that I happen to like for drinks. When I suggest places for dates, a lot of times what I'm looking for a place that has a good ambiance, looks classy, is quiet and intimate, and really that's about it. I don't care much more than that. Oftentimes those places are at least mid-level expensive, but if I'm going to invest my time, I don't mind investing slightly more in the drinks. So that tends to be the place. And I do find not that money per se matters that much in game, but making a good first impression, having the girl walking to a place and be like, this is cool or this is interesting, is better than the alternative. So it doesn't necessarily have to be super nice. But if you're going to go to a divey place, at least try and take a girl to something that's interesting in divey, for the reason that, one, it's easier to be like, oh, this is a cool guy who suggested this place. But two, once you're there, you have an opportunity to walk them around, show them to different places, talk to them about the place. It's a natural bridge into conversation. It's a natural, I've brought you into my world, which is the theme you want for the date. Now, obviously, if you have no money and you can't do this, go on free dates, go on cheap dates, take them to the most divey bar ever. That's all fine. But what I'm saying is if you have the opportunity to do something that has a little interest to it, that has a little bit of this is a glimpse into my world or the way my mind works, that's always a good thing. If you were to do a free date, you could maybe do a free date of your hobby or something that you're into, and that could be very cool as well. The point is, though, you want to bring her into your world, and you want your world to be a cool, interesting place. So she says, is that a club? She doesn't know what it is. I follow up with, it's a hotel, but it has a few amazing bars in and outside of it. So basically I'm saying, yeah, it's a hotel, but it's for the bars. Whenever you invite a girl to a hotel, you want to be a little bit careful because sometimes she'll just assume that you're staying at that hotel and get a little leery of it. So that's why I threw in that little bit about the bars. I mean, I'm obviously not staying there. But whether I were or not, I would say something like that. Because the big thing with logistics is you just want to get the girl to meet up, and then you can do your work in person. You don't want bullshit on the meetup. You just want to like smooth that as much as possible. So here we had another very brief conversation where we just like ironed out the details. She was basically like down to go. She's like compliant right away. She's like, okay, cool, we'll meet you there, et cetera, et cetera. And so then I just texted her when we were leaving. I said, okay, we're about to head over. Should be there in about 30 minutes, I'd guess. And so on our way, she then texted me this. Okay, sounds good. Where is that? We can meet you there or want to pick us up. Now, between these two options, 100% I want to pick them up. Reason being that if you pick them up, you're also dropping them off, which means you are going to end up back at their place one way or another, at least at like the doorstep of their place. So it's much better for logistics, right? Now, obviously, I'd rather bring them to my place if possible, but given that I'm going half an hour away, that's not very likely. So getting to their place to pick them up is the go on this one. So I said, okay, yeah, no, we'll meet you, send us your address, etc. Also, if a girl will send you her address on a meeting from online, she probably likes you a bit. So that's a good sign. So in this case, I wrote, sure, where are you staying? So then she sends me her address, and then she goes, if not, it's fine either way. It's probably closer for you guys to go straight there. This is true. It would have been closer for us to go straight there, but closer to the actual goal that I care about is picking her up. So I'm going to pick her up. So I say, no, it's no problem. We've already GPSed it, etc. The exact words were, no problem. We have it in the nav already. So on our way. So at this point, I'm thinking we're going to go meet her. And then she gets back to me in a minute with, oh, wait, change of plans. So sorry. So then again, one more brief call. And she basically said, we're just going to meet you there. I said, okay, cool. Gave her the address over the phone, and then we're good to go. So now we're going to meet at the place. I say, we're here, are you on your way? Because we got there a little bit before her. And she goes 2 minutes away. So then we're there, she comes, she shows up, and then we go on to the date.
Hi.
Is this still, there's still snow up there and everything? I guess there would be, yeah. So you're gonna go skiing all that? Nice. Very nice. Do you ski or snowboard? Really? I like it. I grew up in Colorado. So I skied basically like my whole youth.
But every snowboard is
yeah.
I hate having my feet stuck together.
You like your freedom? Fair enough. I can appreciate that. All right. So all right. So tell me the story. All I really know is you're cute and a little bit feisty and fun.
I actually always think.
Let's walk around for a minute. It's not that much, but if you want to go look, shall we?
What have you guys just got here?
Very cocky.
Why is it very cocky? Me? Yeah, I suppose. I always felt like it's better to think you're amazing and not quite live up to it than to think that you're terrible and to completely live up to it. Yeah. Are you ambitious, Miss?
I'm defiant ambitious.
Is it define ambitious? I don't know. Did you want bigger and better things throughout your life? Yeah. I felt like there was more to that sentence. I was waiting for it. Oh man, you are such an adorable dork. I love it. I mean, I think you can't really know that much about someone until you actually like. I'm a bit like, for example, I could write messages back and forth with you for like days, and I wouldn't know probably a lot of the things I could know from just like talking and looking in your face for like 5 minutes. I have to ask this. I don't know the right way to ask this though. But like, so then how much towards like innocent and sheltered side do you consider yourself, and how much towards the like outgoing sort of like experiential? Because like certain things like you'd like to travel, you seem to like exploring new things, that kind of stuff. But then also you were raised like in a very traditional sort of way. So I'm curious about you. You're hard to stereotype.
I don't know. It's kind of a weird question. feel like I was raised a certain way, but I'm my own person now. I just do whatever I want.
How spontaneous are you?
Pretty spontaneous, but less spontaneous than I was last year.
Yeah.
I'm kind of-
You're like,
kind
I've
of
turned
calmed
25 now. It's time to be an adult.
down. Yes.
Fair enough.
I see attention to me. I'm asking you a question. You need to answer me. And I was like, finish my text. So he like smacks my phone out of my hand and like shatters it. So I was I don't remember what I said to him, but it made him even more mad. So I went to jail for that.
Aww. Poor girl. Aww. Okay. So I have to tell you a story after that. After like the cops are asshole stories. Just actually, I'll tell you two. One is actually when I used to live in LA, I got pulled over for. To be fair, I probably did run the stop sign. I have no idea whether I ran the damn thing or not. But like, I don't know if I can find it. If I can find it, I'll send you the video. You'll laugh. You'll be like, what the fuck? But all this stuff that you said is not bad. Like, I mean, it sounds like you have a little bit of a temper when you're drunk, but you know, other than that, you know, doesn't sound like you're a terrible person.
2D wise.
Okay. All right. Would you like to join us for, I guess, probably one more round, and then I don't know, figure out from there. If you have to get up early in the morning, we could send you home, or we could take you probably on a quick adventure. But we have to do stuff in the morning too, so probably can't keep you out super late.
Maybe one more drink and then
Okay.
a little bit of time to like
To not.
to wear off.
Yeah, fair enough. I like it. Let me check with Kevin. Unfortunately, he's the only one out of the. Actually, you could too, but he's the only one that can purchase. I left my wallet in Hollywood, which is retarded. But anyway, come.
They do free yoga.
Actually, here. Let me see your arm. Are you whiter or less white? You're definitely tanner than I am, though. Yeah, you're more tan than I am. I know. You found the one person in the world more white than you. Congratulations.
Like, but whatever, you get more heat there. But there's this place. Well, because it's here. Like, I realized that that's less. Yeah.
You're absolutely adorable.
800 euros. Because like that entire hotel, basically.
And
has,
I liked
all these
it.
Restaurants from like LA.
I don't know.
It's like that
When you first like showed up, I thought you were like
like
I guess
it's like
timid and shy a little bit. You're much more interesting than than that. Yeah, you've grown on me throughout this evening.
Purple was awesome. I love Purple. I go there. Well, the place they have in there.
It's definitely better than the alternative, which is what most people do. Actually, a lot of people like have high hopes, and then the more I know them, I'm like, no, you're not that cool actually, or you're like.
If you have like a sweet tooth.
So.
Yeah, I know.
That's a good question, by the way.
But.
No, like a lot of people ask either boring questions or dumb questions. You ask intelligent questions.
They're trying to redo it.
You're welcome.
I think people go down there. It's like.
So tell me about your sister, because Kevin's my good friend. I have to make sure he's in good hands. Is your sister as sweet and nice as you are?
She is, yeah.
I don't know.
Down.
She's sweeter and nicer
Really?
and younger and more innocent.
Really? Your sister says the nicest things about you.
She tried to kill me with a VHS. With a VHS.
You said with a VHS?
Apparently.
Like you took an old black tape and tried to like.
She did. She broke my nose with a VHS.
She didn't break your nose. Your nose is not broken.
When I was like, when I was like 8, yeah, she did.
Really?
Yeah, sure. I'm secretly doing it. I told somebody this story the other day. She told someone this story. I'm like.
So,
The long and short of the story is I can trust my friend with your sister. She won't do terrible things to him and break his heart.
She won't kill him, though.
She won't kill him. Everything's short of that possible, but not kill him.
Like I have like.
Is that about the same like guarantee I have with you? No death.
I actually don't hang out with
Because I feel
my
like
sister.
because I feel like
I don't know about the same guarantee.
that's a good way
Alright.
to.
I thought you guys were roommates and you looked after
part
her.
of their life.
We do, but we don't really like go out together.
Really? This is a rare treat.
But I feel like you want to go.
I don't remember last time I ever drank.
Because I feel like you would get one like people like right there.
So is she protective of you?
Meanwhile,
No.
Are you protective of her?
because like
Yeah. Fair enough.
Or you get it like.
I was a little concerned.
Yeah, I think this is the other. No, is it? Can you see the?
This is the bottom one here?
Yeah, this is worse.
Yeah, that one feels like actually like indented a little bit.
Let's look pretty good.
Yeah, it's not so bad. You'll live. I know, it's a pizza emergency, I get
She
it.
was getting like.
You're getting
Say hangry?
Yes.
angry.
That's a great
She was
word.
so hungry.
That is
She was
such a good
angry.
word, actually.
It's not even hungry anymore. It's like.
Fair enough. Get away with that, 'cause you have the face everybody trusts.
Exactly. Out of an alcohol.
That's the story of Kevin's life. He just like gets away with murder because everybody looks at him and he's like, oh, he's trustworthy. So whatever.
I like him.
He'd never do
I don't know
anything
why I
wrong.
like him.
I don't know. I don't know why. No, I don't know why, but I trust him. That's what it really is. I don't know why, but I like him. I don't know why, but I trust him.
So now on to the date. Now, this is an interesting scenario in that it's a double date, right? This may be a situation you'll end up with here and there. It's not that common, but it is very interesting, and I like it because it'll teach you a lot of principles that go even beyond dating, that go to like game and picking up girls and meeting girls in a lot of scenarios, even dealing with like if you meet friends of friends, you're in your social circle, having to deal with different scenarios, having to deal with the girl's friends, those kind of things, which is a very important part of meeting girls in general. So in this case, we all show up, introduce the girl to my wingman. Actually, I went outside and met the girls, walked them in because they weren't quite sure where it was, introduced her to my wingman, and then we sat. And at first, I just sat in a place that was sort of like comfortable and easy, and I let them sit, let them be comfortable. I was mostly concerned about my wing and his girl getting along. That was my biggest concern because they have no history. My girl and I have a bit of a history. We've talked back and forth a bit. Also, when I was walking in, the friend kind of gave me like a weird look as though like she was like confused, didn't know what was going on a little bit. So that was my biggest concern. So I was more concerned about my wingman than myself to begin with, because if their date doesn't go well, mine won't go well, which is why a lot of times I wouldn't take a double date. But in this case, you know, I have a lot of abundant girls. I don't need to get everyone. This is the best scenario for the night. And, you know, getting your friends laid is a great thing, right? Getting it, like, nothing brings guys together more than getting your friends laid. So it's positive. But anyway, so I wanted to deal with that first. So you'll notice that when I start this date, I'm sitting kind of apart from my girl. And then at some point, if I were to stay in that situation, the date would never go anywhere. So I get up and go sit with her. At that moment, it's a little awkward to get up and go sit with her, but it's less awkward than the alternative of staying apart for the entire date. So it's very important that you assume those like momentary little burdens of awkwardness so you don't have the long-term burden of awkwardness. So in that case, we sit, we drink for a little bit. And then the next thing that I do is I want to get my girl in a one-on-one situation. The thing I don't want to do on this date is get physical in front of, it's not even her friend, it's her sister, right? So I don't want to get a physical in front of the sister, especially, it turns out my girl was the older one, the sister was a bit younger. So my girl was like sort of the mother hen leader, and she's like looking out for her sister. But at the same time, she probably doesn't want to be judged by her younger sister. She doesn't want to be a certain type of example for her little sister, that sort of thing. So in this case, again, I'm not going to get very physical in front of the sister. I will say things that are intentful, things that like show that it's a man-to-woman conversation. I will do things that even like are a little sexual in nature, but I'm not going to get super physical in front of the sister. So what I'd like to do at some points in the date is take her away from the sister, have some time alone so that we can escalate and like make it clear that we're together, and then come back, chill out, make the sister comfortable, etc., and then work on the logistics of getting her home. Also, I want to give my wingman some time alone with his girl as well. So once it seems to be going relatively well with them, like, hey, let's go explore the place, etc. But then I actually don't remember if it was the sister or her. I think it was the sister, but don't necessarily quote me on that. But anyway, they showed a desire to stick together. I believe it was the sister felt like sort of like kind of lost and abandoned, so she like wanted to follow. So in that case, we walked to a different area of the bar, which is still positive for the date. That's the funny thing, right? So I'm trying to isolate the girl from her sister, but I'm also just moving around, being in more places with her, making the date itself more eventful. And if she is able to go alone, that's great. If she brings a sister, it's not bad. It's fine. We still explored. We still have more shared experiences. There's no downside here. So what ended up happening is we just went to a different place. We're on a couch. In this shot, you'll see me and her on the couch, and then my wing and his girl are over on a couch, like kind of beside us. They're not in the shot, but they're still there within eyesight. And, we just continue the date. And we actually do have a little bit more isolation because we're a little further apart. So we can be a little more intimate. But it doesn't really go so far. And so, we do that, talk for a while. And then I start seeding the poll. I start seeding the idea of maybe going somewhere, maybe doing something. But I don't want to do it right away because this set's not like super on. It's like she likes me, but she's not giving a lot. She's not contributing a ton to the conversation. My vibe on this is that she's what we call quiet and attentive. And what quiet and attentive basically means that's what a girl who's really attracted to you often looks like. A lot of times girls will be, physically on you, or will be very feisty, or will like banter a lot with you, and that's good as well, or will give you compliments, obviously that's good. But a lot of times if the girl likes you but is a little nervous or shy, or particularly if she's in a situation where she feels she might be judged and is nervous and shy, i.e. with a sister, she will just be quiet and attentive. She will just say only positive things, but she'll feel nervous. She doesn't want to say the wrong thing. She doesn't want to mess it up. She can be intimidated. And in this case, it was funny because this girl's not like, she's a fairly cool girl as a person, I guess. But if you look at her life versus my life, I've done all these crazy things. I've been all over the world. I've had all these adventures. She's kind of like lived in one place and not really done much. And you know what I mean? So every time she'd tell a story, and I'd try and tell a story to relate to her, to try and be like, oh, look, we're the same. My story was always like just better than hers. It was just like a one-upping story. And so I just tried really hard not to just like overwhelm her and not to be like too much for her. And so I was just trying to find cool things about her, trying to like slow it down, get to know her. But she had a really hard time like saying things that would be impressive to me. Because even when I'd act impressed by things, she'd follow up and ask me about that, and I'd have to tell her like something even more impressive. So it was kind of weird that way. So it kind of progressed slowly, but there was no negatives, so I continued to move it forward. And that's a big thing. A lot of guys will not escalate, will not move things forward unless there's an overt positive. All I need is a non-negative, all right? So she wasn't giving me any negatives. She's quiet and attentive. She's smiling. She giggles at the right places. That's all I need. So I see the idea of let's grab another drink and let's go on an adventure. Pop in, grab another drink, hang out. Right when we were about to leave, actually, the girls went to the bathroom. And this is interesting. That's when you see me and my wingman just kind of talking amongst ourselves. This interesting moment because it's like a 50-50 moment. Actually, it's probably like a 60-40 against moment in most cases. Like when I meet girls like on a cold approach, it's about 60-40 against. On a date, it's a little more 50-50. But usually what happens is the girls go in the bathroom and they discuss like, are we okay with this? Do we like our guys, et cetera, et cetera. So usually they'll come out and like some fraction of the time, probably a little less than 50%, they'll come out and they'll just be like down and be like, okay, let's go. And from there, you're like, okay, we're good to go. Game over, sex is on. Some percentage of the time they'll come out and they'll just flat leave. They've made a strong decision. One of them just doesn't like the situation and there's almost nothing you can do. And then the other percentage of the time they'll come out hesitant. And at that point it's your time to like jump back in, win them over, do some things there. A good tactic at that point actually might be to switch girls for a little bit. Because there's a possibility that your girl doesn't like you, his girl doesn't like him, but they might like the other ones. That happens sometimes. Or they might tolerate the other ones. The other thing is that sometimes a girl will maybe not be super on with her girl and she'll see that the other one really likes the guy she's with and she either feels jealous or she feels like something's going to happen that she's not comfortable with. But if she gets to know the other guy and finds out he's cool, then a lot of times she'll come around. Also, if one person in your group has clearly better game than the other, there's a good chance that the other girl has not been gamed quite properly. But if she is gamed properly for a little bit and then you switch back, it'll put her in a better mood and things might go well. So there's a lot of things you can do in that case. In this case, they came back out and they were like a tiny bit hesitant, but mostly they were the, let's go on the adventure type of situation. And so from there, things progressed nicely.